Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome back to the channel. So back in 2020, I decided to move to Egypt for the purpose of learning the Arabic language and memorizing the Quran. And subhanAllah, to my surprise, within 6 months of me studying Arabic in Egypt, I was actually speaking at a decent level. I wouldn't say that I was fluent, but I definitely had enough control over the Arabic language, enough for me to be able to interact and construct sentences and get around, move around, and go to different places. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 3 tips and things that I did that I believe helped me to be able to excel in learning the Arabic language, especially in the beginning stages. And to be fair, I did study a bit of Arabic before actually traveling to Egypt. So it's not like I was starting from zero. For example, like 2 years prior to me coming to Egypt, I had studied the Medina book, like the first book, in the Medina book series. I had studied that with a teacher, but the studies were in English, but it did help me, and give me a little bit of a foundation, I guess. And also 1 month before traveling to Egypt, I studied with an Egyptian teacher online. And with him, I was studying the books that I would continue to study here, which is Al-Arabiyya Bayna Yadayk. So I did have somewhat of a background, in the Arabic language, but I can honestly say that it wasn't a background such that I was able to speak or I had any type of control over the language. No, when I first arrived in Egypt, I was able to say very, very basic things like, my name is, how are you? I'm from this, I'm from America, for example, but nothing in detail. Like, I didn't have control. I wasn't confident. I didn't have enough vocabulary and tools within the Arabic language to actually be able to say yo, I speak Arabic or I understand Arabic. All right, so let's get into these 3 tips real quick. So the first tip that I have for you guys is something that I did that I believe is probably the most important, and it's actually the thing that benefited me the most while I was learning the Arabic language here in Egypt, is the Quran. Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me to have a pretty strong relationship with the Quran. I had memorized a nice chunk of the Quran before traveling to Egypt. And I also was already fluent in reading the Quran. And subhanAllah, if you can implement this tip and start, having a strong connection with the Quran, if you don't already. And the reason that this tip is so important is because when you get used to reciting the Quran, as someone mentioned to me before, the Quran, it loosens up your tongue. It makes your tongue flexible to the Arabic language. So if you get in the habit of reading the Quran, learning how to read the Quran properly and pronunciating the words, then you have won half of the battle damn near, because one of the most challenging things when learning Arabic, especially in the beginning, especially for people like me, like Americans and people that come from backgrounds and languages that are not anything close to the Arabic language, it's very hard to train our tongues to say certain letters, and to pronunciate certain letters and words. So the Quran will give you that foundation of being able to pronunciate the Arabic language in the proper way. And also a second benefit is just that, through reading the Quran over and over and over again, you get used to the flow and the patterns in the Arabic language and the way that the language is spoken. You'll get used to these patterns because you're constantly reading over the Quran. So although you won't know what it means yet until you start learning Arabic, but the Quran, the Arabic language has a certain flow. It has I don't know what you call it. It's everything is very systematic. So by you constantly reading the Quran, you'll get used to hearing it, and your tongue will get used to speaking the Arabic language, pronouncing the words in the correct way. And the second tip that I have for you guys that really helped me to excel in my beginning phase of learning the Arabic language is immersion in the culture. So when I got to Egypt, I pretty much dived off the deep end, pretty much. I didn't really have anyone here personally that was helping me to do everything. So although I'm my little limited Arabic, I went out, you know what I'm saying? I didn't wait for nobody. Alhamdulillah, I did actually have, people that were assisting me. But for the most part, like, I did everything on my own. One time, I remember I was probably here for about 2 months, only about 2 months. So I was starting to get a little bit of Arabic, but it still wasn't enough. So subhanAllah, I remember I hopped on a bus and I wanted to go like to the mall. I was either going to the mall or on my way back from the mall. And I remember sitting at the beginning of the bus, like right there, speaking to the driver. And like he was looking at me, asking me where I'm from. He was intrigued. I remember I had my braids at the time. So he was asking me like where I was from. And we had a full-fledged conversation. And I didn't know any Arabic I knew some Arabic, but it wasn't strong enough. But what I noticed in that moment, and it's very profound because I still remember it to this day. It was about 3 years ago. In that moment, I was struggling so hard to communicate, what was on my mind to this man. But in that moment, I realized that this is the key to learning a language. Why? Because you're forced to use what you're learning. You're forced to use the things that you're using in class and that you're learning in class. You need to put yourself in situations in which you'll be forced to actually implement those things and use those vocabulary and those things that you're learning in the class. So yeah, that's something that I did, and alhamdulillah, I'm grateful to Allah that I was able to do that, because it helped me excel a lot faster than some other people that were pretty much on the same level as me during that time. And the third tip that I have for you guys is something that I used to do a lot, is talk to yourself. Yes, talk to yourself, guys. And the reason that I think that this is beneficial is because many people in the beginning phases of learning something new, but especially with a language, many of us deal with embarrassment. Alhamdulillah, I'm not really worried about being embarrassed too much, but I know many people who I've been around, they're very embarrassed to make a mistake in front of people. So they'll just refrain from even trying so as to not be embarrassed. My advice to you, if you're a person like that, is to try your hardest to strive against that. Try your best to push yourself, even if you feel a little bit embarrassed. That's how you're gonna learn. But also outside of that is when you're by yourself, there's nobody there to judge you. So what I would do is I would literally, get my phone and I would just record myself. I would press record and I would just look at the camera and start speaking in Arabic, and it would be almost as if I was way more confident because I didn't have nobody looking around, looking at me, So I would be very confident, and I would be making mistakes, of course, because I don't know the language. I don't have all of the tools to be speaking in a professional and proper way. But the thing is that I was practicing what I had already learned, and I was recording, so I was able to analyze myself, and some of the mistakes that I made, I was able to correct myself. So I would get on the camera and I would just be like, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. كيف حالك يا أخي؟ من أين أنت؟ أنا أمريكي. أنا جئت إلى مصر لأتعلم اللغة العربية وأنا مسرور جدا وأنا I wasn't speaking as fluent as you see me speaking now, but back then it was very broken Arabic, and I would do that every single night. And I remember I had a roommate during that time, and he heard me and he was like, bro, what are you doing? And I was a little bit embarrassed or whatever the case is, but this is something that I used to do, and alhamdulillah, I believe that it helped me tremendously. So I think that it would help you and benefit you a lot, especially if you are learning Arabic in a place like America or in a country where there aren't many people around you for you to practice the language with. Then you got to practice by yourself. You got to do as much as you can. But the most important part of all of these tips and these things that I used to do, that I believe that helped me, the most important thing is the first that I mentioned, guys, is that before I came to Egypt, I was striving to learn the Arabic language. So for those of you who are watching this who are planning to come to Egypt, maybe in the near future or maybe a year from now or however long, my advice to you is to start now, start where you are. Try to find a way in which you can start your journey to learning Arabic now. And for this reason, I personally will be starting an Arabic course at the beginning of next month on December the 1st, inshallah. So anyone who's interested, you can text this number. You can text the word Arabic to this number that you see on the screen. And inshallah, I'll get you guys the details to register for the class. I am charging a fee for this course just so none of you are caught off guard. It is not a free course. Inshallah, I will be charging. I'm only accepting 15 students. So if you're interested and you're ready to catapult your journey and kickstart your journey to learning the Arabic language, allow me to help you to get started, inshallah, by joining this course, inshallah. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Inshallah, if you implement some of these tips, I believe that it will help you in your journey to learning the Arabic language. I pray that Allah makes it easy for all of us. And inshallah, I'll see you guys on the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.